It was a cold morning at the cemetery, mist curling between gravestones like ghosts that refused to leave. A frail woman in a torn shawl knelt beside a marble grave, her fingers trembling as she placed a small bouquet of wildflowers. No one knew her name, yet she came every week. But that day, someone else was already there. A man in a black suit, eyes full of pain and disbelief. He looked at her and said in a voice that cracked the silence, "That's my wife's grave too. What happened next will break your heart and heal it again." Before we begin this powerful story of loss, kindness, and fate, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Hopeful Stories, and turn on the bell icon. Because every story here will remind you that even in pain, hope still blooms. Every Thursday at dawn, before the city woke up, an elderly woman named Mira would walk the long road to the cemetery. Her shoes were worn, the soles patched with bits of cloth. In her frail hands, she carried small bunches of wildflowers she picked from the fields nearby. They weren't perfect, some wilted, some broken, but to her they were beautiful, because they came from her heart. She would always stop at the same grave, a polished marble one, clearly belonging to someone wealthy. The name engraved read, "Elena Roberts, beloved wife and mother. Gone too soon." Mira wasn't related to Elena. In fact, she had never met her. But years ago, when Mira's own daughter had died in a hospital ward, penniless and alone, it was Elena, a stranger, who sat beside her. Elena had given her water, wiped her tears, and held her hand when her world was falling apart. 2 weeks later, Elena passed away in a tragic car accident. Mira had never forgotten her kindness. So, every week she brought flowers to her grave, a way of saying thank you, even after death. One Thursday, as Mira bent down to place her bouquet, a black car rolled to a stop behind her. She didn't notice until she heard the crunch of shoes on gravel. When she turned, a tall man stood there, sharp suit, expensive watch, but eyes red and tired. He stared at her with confusion. "Why? Are you putting flowers on my wife's grave?" he asked. His voice was gentle but carried a storm beneath. Mira froze, clutching her basket. I just wanted to thank her," she whispered, trembling. The man frowned. "Thank her? You knew Elena?" Mira nodded and told him everything. The hospital, the kindness, the moment when a stranger gave her dignity when no one else cared. As she spoke, tears slipped down her wrinkled cheeks. The man said nothing for a long moment. He finally looked away, swallowing hard. "I'm her husband, Daniel Roberts, CEO of the Roberts Foundation." He smiled sadly. "Elena used to do that all the time, help strangers. She never told me their names, just said she met beautiful souls who taught her what real love is." Mira lowered her eyes. "She saved my soul, sir. I just wanted to keep her memory alive." Daniel's voice broke. "You already have." They stood there in silence, two broken hearts connected by one woman's kindness. Then Daniel said softly, "Please, keep bringing flowers." She would have wanted that, but Mira shook her head. "Sir, I can't keep intruding. This grave belongs to your family." Daniel looked at her basket, old, frayed, and nearly empty. "Then, let's make it our family." And from that day on, every Thursday, two figures came to that grave together, a rich man and a poor woman. One brought roses, the other brought wildflowers. Together they remembered a woman who had given love freely, and in doing so created a bond that death could not break. As months passed, the cemetery visits became something sacred. Daniel would bring fresh roses from the florist. Mira would bring her humble wildflowers. They talked about Elena, her laugh, her kindness, her dreams. Daniel soon realized how lonely Mira's life was. Her house was a crumbling one-room shack by the edge of town. Her only income came from washing clothes for neighbors who barely paid her. Yet, despite her struggles, she never missed a Thursday. One morning, Daniel waited for her, but she didn't come. He waited another week. Still no sign. Finally, worried, he drove to the small neighborhood she once mentioned. He found her house, door slightly open, and stepped inside. Mira lay on an old cot, pale but smiling faintly. "Mr. Roberts," she whispered weakly. I didn't want to worry you. I just got tired. Daniel's heart clenched. He called for medical help immediately, insisting she be moved to a hospital. She resisted, saying she couldn't afford it. He looked her in the eyes. Elena once saved you. Now it's my turn. Under Daniel's care, Mira recovered slowly. But something even more beautiful followed. When she was discharged, Daniel took her to a new place. A small, cozy home surrounded by flowers. This is yours now, he said. Mira's hands trembled. Mine? No, sir, I can't. Daniel smiled. You already gave me something worth more than money. You reminded me what love looks like when it expects nothing in return. Elena would have done this herself. From that day on, Mira lived comfortably, tending a small garden of wildflowers, just like the ones she used to leave on the grave. She never stopped visiting Elena's resting place, but now she did it with joy, not grief, and every year Daniel joined her. He had a plaque placed beside the grave that read, "For Elena, who taught us that kindness never dies." When the local news heard about their story, it spread everywhere, a story of a poor woman's gratitude and a CEO's compassion, both bound by one woman's act of love. People began leaving flowers at Elena's grave, too. Some roses, some wildflowers, all symbols of humanity's unbreakable bond. And sometimes, when Daniel stood there watching Mira arrange her flowers, he felt something in the breeze, soft, gentle, almost like Elena's whisper. You kept my promise. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories for more real and emotional tales of kindness and hope. Because somewhere, someone's kindness might just change your life too.